He's the youngest ever to claim victory in Irving, Texas.
Settle in as we rewind the week with the latest edition of Monday Backspin from PGA TOUR.com.
Welcome to the recap of the HP Byron Nelson Championship. I'm Amanda Balionis, and it should come as no surprise to us by now, but for the fifth time in 6 weeks, a tournament ended in a playoff. Ryan Palmer and Keegan Bradley battled it out, and 24-year-old Bradley pulled out his first PGA Tour win. This also makes him the youngest winner in the tournament's history, and for the first time, he's breaking into the top 20 of FedEx Cup standings. The St. John's alum was completely overwhelmed after knocking in a putt for par on the only playoff hole of the day. We talked all week about the importance of maintaining a consistent game because of the brutal heat, which never left the high 90s, and the extreme winds of up to 40 miles an hour. Bradley exemplified that consistency, ranking tied for 6th in greens in regulation and in top 10 in driving accuracy. The heat and winds created some of the toughest playing conditions we've seen all season long, which forced players to grind it out every single day with a pretty modest result on their scorecard. Just to put things in perspective, Ryan Palmer and Keegan Bradley went into the playoff at 3 under. The next highest score on tour to win a tournament was 8 under. Now, this was a ton of action and a ton of excitement for the last tournament in Texas, but there was also a lot of stuff going on outside of the course that kept fans entertained. Sergio Garcia, who was in contention for the title up until the final day, was serenaded by a mariachi band as he approached the 17th hole. Unfortunately, the Spaniard had bogeyed the 16th and wasn't quite in the mood to dance along, but the festive music was definitely an added touch that the fans enjoyed all day. Garcia is someone to keep an eye on. Even though he had a disappointing final round, it was still his best performance of the season so far. One of the biggest storylines of the week wasn't really about the pros, though. It was about a player that can't even buy a lottery ticket yet. Bob Stevens gives us the breakdown on Jordan Spieth.
Amanda, over and above the winner and the wind this week at the HP Byron Nelson Championship, the big story was, of course, teenager Jordan Spieth. Last year as a 16-year-old, he was a wonderful Cinderella story. In the top 10 headed to Sunday, all that good stuff. Well, Cinderella didn't have a sequel, if I remember correctly. Jordan Spieth did. Played well again. Played great again. Showed more maturity. He's getting bigger and stronger. He's going to be a heck of a player. He's also a heck of a good kid. He decided not to go to his high school graduation on Saturday night because it would have just caused too much of a ruckus for the other kids for whom it would be maybe the biggest day of their lives. Jordan Spieth has not had the biggest day of his life yet, and he knows it. Stayed here, helped the sponsors, did what he needed to do, and oh yeah, he got his 10 minutes with Jim Nance and Sir Nick Faldo up in the booth as well. Jordan Spieth may not be most likely to succeed. He may never be Byron Nelson, but he's a pretty darn good Jordan Spieth. That ought to be good enough as he heads off to the University of Texas. And gee, you think he'll get a sponsor's exemption offer again next year? We, of course, are off to the Memorial Tournament next week, Jack's place. Jack would certainly approve of Jordan Spieth. Our PGA Tour Network live coverage begins at noon Eastern on Thursday. Amanda?
Thanks, Bob. Well, Jordan Spieth did finish tied for 32nd, but probably more impressive is that he had the second most birdies in the entire field with 20 on the week. Jason Day has the top spot there with 22 birdies on the week. Be sure to check out the Memorial Tournament presented by Nationwide Insurance, which starts on Thursday. But also be sure to tune in to PGA TOUR.com and watch PGA Tour Today, where I will give you a preview of the tournament starting on Wednesday.